This is a fabulous turnout. I know how, we all know how important this issue is for our neighborhood, so we're so glad to have so many people coming out today to talk about it.
Oh boy.
Yes?
Louder, please.
Oh, all right. So we do not have a microphone.
She's getting a mic.
Oh, great.
Very, very much.
We're right now, but we are, as you can see, we have an overflow crowd. I apologize to all of you who have to stand. There are some seats available. If you have an open seat next to you, there are cushions here if anybody is comfortable sitting on a cushion. I would just say if you have a seat open next to you, will you raise your hand so people can see that? Okay. So there's a few seats available, as you folks can see. We have really wanted to start on time, but I think we're going to give it a few more minutes.
We're getting an microphone.
I'm usually pretty good at this.
You can stand in front of this thing. A little less
Yeah, please. Okay, thank We're gonna be having a microphone shortly, but I want to start out by saying this, just welcoming all of you on behalf of the Edgewater and 48th Ward Coalition of Block Clubs and Residential Associations. We are a loose organization of all the block clubs in Edgewater and in the 48th Ward on the west side of Clark in the 48th Ward and in Uptown in the 48th Ward. There are about 18 block clubs nominally in that area, and we have a number that are really quite active. 10 of them have recently signed a letter to the Alderwoman and the Department of Planning asking for a slowdown in this process and inclusion of the residents in the community. This forum that we've decided to put on is in part because we weren't seeing a residential forum that was focused on the people who live here actually learning about these issues and also actually being able to make comments in person and have a conversation apart from just putting a sticky on a poster board or just putting in a comment on the comment line. So this is intended today to be a real forum for the community. I think we have people who maybe have various perspectives on this issue, and that's fabulous. This is a really diverse community, and it's a really active community. So anyway, I may have failed to say my name is Pat Sharkey. I am the president of the ENN Neon Block Club. How many people here are a member of a block club, receive correspondence from a block club in our area? Okay, when I say block club, I include, that was Sandy Chait, by the way, who is the executive director of the Association of Sheridan Road Condominium Owners and Cooperatives. And I include the associations like that. Her group includes almost every one of the high-rise buildings on Sheridan Road. So we've got a lot of people represented, and I want to say on behalf of block clubs in this area, I know every one of them wants as many people as possible in their community to participate in them. We are looking for different voices, so please get involved in your block club if you haven't already. I'm not going to take too much more time. We are expecting our Alderwoman, is Lenny here? There she is. Yeah, thank you. We asked the Alderman to say a few words.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Lenny Manahop, and we're the Alderwoman of the 48th Ward, which includes Edgewater and Uptown community areas. But within those communities are many different neighborhoods, and that includes Edgewater Glen, Andersonville, south of Foster on Sheridan, Ajon Argyle. And this forum is really important to me, and it's important for me that I see you here, because this is how we build stronger communities. I'm going to be available after this forum, and I'm always available on Bryn Mawr at 1129 West Bryn Mawr to answer any questions. And the most important thing that I wanted to convey to you is that I want this community to thrive. That's what I want. I've been here for 27 years. I raised my family here. They went to Pierce School, and I have a small business. We want our small business corridors to thrive, and that includes not only the east and west, and Andersonville, but also Broadway, because it's the spine of our community. One thing. Test. Better?
Yes.
So the 48th Ward includes Sheridan Road, Broadway, Clark Street, and each of those thoroughfares are very different, and they deserve different kinds of attention. I hope that every part of the ward is represented in the room, but if they're not, if your neighbors want to know more about this, please, I hope that you will also join me and your neighbors on the 30th on Zoom at 6 o'clock this Thursday with Department of Planning and Development, so that we can answer any questions that weren't addressed here today. I understand that there are many concerns about this project. I want you to know that I know about the work that has been done in this neighborhood, especially in this neighborhood with our former alderwoman and our late alderwoman, Marianne Smith, whose #1 priority is to make sure that everybody is safe and thriving in the 48th Ward. None of those values have changed. In fact, I understand that there was a referendum that was on the ballot 20 years ago. None of those goals are different from what we want to do today. We want our small businesses to thrive. We want to have more children in our public schools. We want people to actually ride the Red Line, which we have invested $1 billion into, the first time in 100 years. And we want more people to live closer to where they work. I'm a small business owner. I would love it for all of my workers to actually live in the 48th Ward. And we want more small businesses to open. We love the diversity of the ward, and that includes the economic diversity too. And I believe that no matter how much you have in your pocket, you should have a place to live with dignity. So I'm thinking of all of that as we're developing our vision together for a better community for everybody in the 48th Ward. And so I'm grateful for the panelists that are going to be here to talk about the history and a little bit about the your perspective about this plan moving forward. But for perspective, this is from Devon to Montrose. And on the north end, we have Loyola, which is our anchor up there, which purports to be our biggest employer of the 48th Ward residents. And then moving downward to the south, we have Montrose area and Uptown, and we do have a representative from the 46th Ward. Can you raise your hand, Jesse? There, Jesse. So if you have any questions, Angela Clay is represented by Jesse today. And then in the middle of that, we have Ajon Argyle, which is very culturally diverse and rich, and we want to protect that. And also, we want to protect that here in this area, which is also now one of our 3 national registered historic districts in the 48th Ward, which includes now Edgewater Glen. Thank you, Justin, for really leading the way on that. Also Lakewood Balmoral and Clark Street. But we can't do that. I can't do that as an elected position by myself. Really, the vision has to come from community, and this is something that we have been building on for many, many years, decades in fact. But now we have different tools, and so I hope that we can touch on the many tools that we're talking about here today and the reason why we're here. So thank you all for being here. I do have, just by the way, please come to me if you want one of these 3, and I'll also post them downstairs. One is Know Your Rights. Please share that with your neighbors. Right now, we understand that there are a lot of rumors about ICE raids, especially around our public schools. Our schools are really suffering right now, and principals have reported to me a 50% attendance rate. So we're thinking about all of our children right now. And please, if you see something posted on social media, call the helpline that is on this flyer first before spreading it around, because the last thing we want is to spread rumors. The other thing about here, these flyers, is a flyer about Granville. So if you're interested in that, there's information on that. But here is the flyer about the Connecting Communities on Broadway, Broadway Land Use Planning. And you'll see that there's information about the virtual meeting that's happening on Thursday, and also a little bit more about zoning. If you don't know anything about zoning, this tries to explain a little bit about the opportunities that we're opening up for, especially this business corridor, really, to thrive. So thank you for the time that you've given me, and I hope you enjoy this forum, but please also join me on the 30th, on Thursday at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.
Before you leave, I have to ask something. We learned just last night that on the Department of Planning and Development's website, and this was a link from your newsletter, they've said they're going to take their plan to the City Plan Commission on February 20th. And we were surprised about that. Do you know if that's still the case? And is there anything you can do to slow that down so that we get some of the community process that has been lacking so far?
I will say that on Thursday, you'll have the opportunity to speak directly to DPD. So join that virtual forum. So you could put comments in there. You could submit questions to me before that date. And I'm also right here, so you can also ask questions to me. But all of this is, I want to assure everybody that this is a whole process. And so we need to go through the process, and there are always opportunities for you to make your voices heard.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. So just to be clear, this is a forum for 48th Ward. We're glad to have the 46th Ward here. Don't mean to be discriminatory in any way, but those of us in the 48th Ward looked at the map that had been created and the proposal that had been created by DPD and said, wait a minute, the residents of the 48th Ward have not been contacted. The block clubs have not been contacted. It has come out as a 3-ward, very big thing from the city. And so the goal here, and I want to say this particularly, is to explain to you the particular problems in the 48th Ward. And the 48th Ward is most of this proposal. It's the lion's share of Broadway. And the real focus you're going to see today from our experts, and we have a really great panel of local experts, is going to be primarily on Devon to Foster. And the reason for that is that the zoning that is being proposed by DPD undoes the zoning that was established by the community after a long process. And so we're looking at how that change between Devon and Foster occurs, and especially because of the differences in the two sides of Broadway. Happy to take questions on other things, but I just want to explain to you the focus here is going to be Devon to Foster. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the day, and that is that we have two full hours. I appreciate you guys staying. The second hour is going to be really community. It's going to be you, the audience, and your questions. We're going to divide them into some topics to try to organize it a little bit. But we are looking forward to a conversation and hearing your voices. The first 45 minutes to an hour is going to be from the panel, and I think you're going to learn a lot from this. So just so you understand, you're going to be hearing from the panel first. We're going to save the questions. And when you do have questions, we'd really appreciate two things when we get to that section, that next second half. Is please tell us where you live. You don't have to tell us your actual address, but tell us at least your block and the street you live on. And secondly, please tell us, if you're a member of a block club, what block club you're a member of. So we'd love to hear that.
Thank you so much.
So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the moderator, who is Troy McMillan. And Troy has an illustrious background in this community. For those of you who don't know her, she has worked for the Chamber of Commerce as a neighborhood representative. She was the former vice president of the Edgewater Community Council. She was a former president of the Edgewater North Neighbors Block Club. She's been involved in almost everything we can think about. She is the vice president of the Armory Park Advisory Council. In addition, she has a day job for the state of Illinois. So she's great to volunteer to do this today and knows the community like the back of her hand. So thank you, Troy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So, in addition to the items that Pat had suggested that we do when we're asking a question, also include your name. Okay, just your first name, okay, and your block and street, and if you're a member of a block club. So I just wanted to make sure I got that in there, okay? All right, can we go ahead and advance to the next slide while I introduce these more illustrious people? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna come back here and do this. Okay. All right, just a little bit of background. It will become very apparent when they start to talk about their expertise in the various areas that they're involved in. Okay, so first is Todd Beisch. I did pronounce that correctly, right? And you did raise your hand, Beisch, because it's a diphthong. The A and the I form a diphthong. Okay, remember that from school, folks? Okay, all right. Okay. So Todd Beisch is an architect, and he has lived in Edgewater for about 36 years. He's had a 35-plus illustrious career working for top global design firms, leading interdisciplinary teams of data analysts, architects, urban planners, and strategists. Okay. So in 2020, Todd started his own firm to focus on solving complex problems in the building environment, in the built environment. Okay, so that's Todd. Okay, you're gonna be able to tell us a little bit more when you start to talk. Okay, I'm gonna come over here to Jack next. So, Jack Markowski, okay, is a housing expert and local resident, former executive director of the Edgewater Community Council. Thank you for leading the way. Okay. Director of Operation Winthrop and Kenmore, and we'll have more to say about that, Commissioner for the City of Chicago Department of Housing, and CEO of Chicago Investment Corporation. So, thank you very much, Jack, for being here, and we know we'll hear more from you in just a second. Okay, and then back over here, we're going to go ahead and introduce Tom Green. Tom Green, a local resident for 36 years, an architect for 36 years, and list of accomplishments include being a recipient of the American Institute of Architects, Daniel Burnham. Okay, we got any Daniel Burnham fans in here? Okay, yeah, all right. Free, open, and clear, folks. Okay, for community planning and services. He's a plethora of awards, including the Treehouse Landmark Presentation Award, 13 Good Neighbor Awards, 12 Painted Lady Awards. You got to talk to me more about that. Published over 50 times in national architectural magazines. So responsible for the design and creation of the Andersonville, as Rosemary was talking about, that's part of us too, and Bryn Mawr historic districts and streetscaping projects. And also a co-founder of the Edgewater Historical Society. So you're going to hear more from Tom as well. So let's go ahead and just give everybody a round of applause, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks. All right. Who are we going to start with? We're going to start right here. Okay, you have one.
Hello, everybody. As we get started, this first section is to kind of ground everybody in the work that the DPD, the Department of Planning, has done to date. I want a show of hands of how many people have attended one of their open houses, just so we can see in the room how many of you have seen things. Okay, How many of you have gone to their website to see the work that they're proposing, the framework that's out there to be discussed on the 30th? Okay, so we got a little education to do, so bear with me as we do this. I do not work for the City of Chicago. I am not an urban planner. We did invite the DPD to join us today to present this work, but they could not make it. I don't know the reasons, but they could not make it. So they said the 30th was our time as a community to learn more and go to their website, which is pretty full of all the information. So I'm going to try my best to what did that happen? Okay, to do. Now you're not going to be able to read all this, but this is on the website, and you can get a copy of it. We'll send you the link of all that. But what I wanted to do was pull the materials that we as a committee saw at the open houses, or materials that are on the website for the DPD for this project. So it's called Connected Communities. It began in July, so it's been about a 6-month process. There were 2 touch points for the community. One in October, which was October 7th, was an open house where we saw their research and the merging ideas that they wanted to do for the Broadway corridor. On December 16th was the other open house where they brought their recommendations to the community. So this was pretty much a point where we could ask, do you agree or don't agree with those recommendations? And that's pretty much what is still on the website today that they've shown us. The purpose of this project, what they said, was to support the community's short and long-term needs by attracting people, activity, and investment to a critical neighborhood spine, as Lenny was saying. And then build upon this once-in-a-lifetime project, the CTA renovation and rebuilding, and create a lot more opportunities for housing and just mixed-use investment in the neighborhood. This was a partnership with 3 wards, the Edgewater Chamber, Uptown United, and then the Department of Planning and Development was the lead of the project, with some work also with the Department of Housing. Okay. So this is the community goals and priorities that they have set forth. You can see the qualifier up there, which says it's based on community feedback, which we believe is some of the documents that they'll list in this piece, but one major one was during the Osterman administration, there was a community vision process in the year 2021 and 2022, as well as the work that Marianne Smith did the last time we shifted the zoning in this neighborhood. So pretty straightforward. Improve neighborhood housing affordability, support local business environment, create a more livable neighborhood, and right-size the approval process to align with community priorities. Again, you can't see this, but I'm just going to kind of show you kind of what the research was that the DPD did. So on the left was an analysis on this corridor, which is running from Devon to Montrose, is it? Yeah. And so on the left, they're showing us the architectural character and historic legacy buildings. On that map, again, it's hard to see, but all the little blue dots you see on that map is over in the 40th ward alone is over 75 documented legacy and architecturally significant buildings. On the right is what they call a development opportunity analysis that they created, and this goes through almost every site in this corridor and rates it whether it is a most underutilized and incompatible, meaning it's not the best use for the area, or it's the underutilized and lower quality construction, or it's an underutilized and higher quality construction. Now, I point this out because I think it's a way for them to start looking at what can be scraped off and rebuilt on, and maybe what should be kept. So that's kind of a baseline of work that we saw. This was another piece they did, which is building an idea of how to create more activated, higher density in certain parts of the corridor. I can't explain it very well, but it's something that we saw and had a lot of questions on during those open houses. And this is a page from the actual framework that is now public to everybody. And you can see in the 48th ward here, which is about from Foster Avenue to Devon, they're recommending one zoning, a B3.5. And again, I'm not going to get into the details of the zoning because I think Jack and Tom will do a little of that. But the dark brown is one zone for the entire area in the 48th ward. I think you'll hear from Jack and Tom the challenges with that going forward.
Could I just wanted to emphasize that. He said it twice. so I maybe not say it a third time, but one of the major points on this is this whole play area from Devon to Foster, basically, it's all the same. Their treatment of it all is make it all B35. So just remember that, because that is a discussion point.
I also want to point out that you can see the difference in size between the plot plan on the east side versus
Yes.
the west side.
Absolutely.
So that was also a limiting factor in what people can develop.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right. We'll get into that in a little more detail, the scale of the neighborhood. So there are three spots that were not changed. The Broadway Armory, St. Dina's Church, and the park at Balmoral. And the rest of it is all one zoning that can change kind of what the built environment would look like in all that brown area on that street. Okay, so anything else to say? Okay, these are more the detailed maps. Again, you can see this on the website. It goes again block by block. This is somehow digitized, but you know, it basically on the top one shows two. I'm going to point with my pointer right here. This is Foster going up to Bryn Mawr. And so you can see here, there's two kinds of zoning happening, a little light brown and a little bit dark brown. And then the proposal down here, that both sides of Broadway are the same zoning. So there's kind of this is sort of a significant shift that we saw when we reviewed these proposals. Same thing on the north side of Bryn Mawr going north. You'll see here, you know, there is kind of a lot of the light tan, which is a B1.3. A few other, little bit of C1 over here, and you know that might not mean a lot to people, but it's actually getting into a little bit more. Again, the proposal is it's all one zoning on both sides of Broadway. I'm going to turn it over. I know that was kind of quick 101, a lot of open questions, but hopefully more of those will become more apparent once we get into this.
Thanks, Todd. So, yes, let's see. Our DPD, there was a number of goals they have I don't know if you had mentioned the goals Todd, did you mention the goals when you went over? Okay. So the goals were like to bring more affordable housing, bring more density by the newly constructed L, support a vital business district, make development more transparent and facilitated. So all of those were a number of goals that they had. And I would say here that the strategy, though, they have is not a very complex strategy. They have a one-size-fits-all strategy, and it's density. The density, what their answer to everything is, we want to make it a lot denser. And that's B35. Right now, the zoning, and I'll explain these later when we get into it, it's a B1-2 and a B1-3. It's B1-2 on the west side, B1-3 on the east side of Broadway, and I'll tell you what the implications of this are. But basically, they want to change. They love density. They want to make everything quite dense. One size fits all. There's no consideration for context, and by context I mean, like the west side. The alderman said, for instance, the lots on the west side are a lot shallower than the lots on the east side of Broadway. They also back up to residential areas that are generally 1 to 3 story buildings, and that's very different from the deeper lots on the west side, on the east side, which are deeper, 150 feet or so, 250 feet, I'm sorry, and they back up to the L. So that's quite good, but there's no consideration for that. No differentiation of the east versus the west side. They really do have a goal, I read it, to completely remake Broadway. That's a strong statement. But in the maps that Todd showed, when you look at that, they're very hard to look at all of it. We saw all of these on boards that were displayed at Furama Restaurant, and then you could go to their website and look at it and get your magnifying glass out. Because when you get your magnifying glass out and look at their maps, you will find any site with 2 or fewer stories on Broadway now is considered underutilized. And that's about 75% of all of Broadway is considered underutilized. Then I looked at 50% of the uses on Broadway, so half of the uses on Broadway right now, are incompatible with their vision. They're not only, they're underutilized and incompatible. And you can find those right on their map. So one of the points I'm making is, this is a big deal. This is not tweaking something. This is, they see 75% underutilized, 50% incompatible. The basic, if you put B35 zoning on both sides of Broadway, it basically could line all of Broadway with 6 to 8 story buildings. Now, what does that mean? The DPD did not provide any estimate of what it means.